Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal. Tout ça m'est bien égal. Non.
All right, so I started my effort on this little side road. We're in France, guys. I'll explain. But hopefully you saw the video about this already. But I started this little side road right there, which the race comes from for the other part. But I wanted a little speed going in, which I then lost in that hairpin that you just saw. But it's principle or something. The cool thing, I did have the whole road for this. The road was closed for this video shoot I was doing. So I was there. I was in town for Motor Trend was doing a video with Land Rover, and the idea was a Land Rover races up this mountain, so you can see the laces on the right side against the hill there. You can see an Alp, a real pretty snowy Alp, and then straight ahead here at the top, that's what I'm about to climb up in 10 minutes, which is daunting. Up here on the right is the crew, who kindly made room for me to do my silly thing. So the story here, and again, like, you definitely want to watch the video about this, but this is just the climb. The story here was these guys that was the whole Motor Trend video crew. They were doing some stuff with Land Rover, and the idea was the Land Rover races up the mountain, and then a pro cyclist races down it. So for that, I had my disc brake bike, but I was also like, I'm doing this climb, and the Tour de France raced it one time, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my uphill bike and see if I can smash this Strava. I'm in town for 4 days. And they're like, okay, call time is 7:45, and so this is when I'm doing this, it's 6:30, something like that. The sun just came up, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for it, and I'll start the thing sweaty. And then they told me between takes with somebody else, they made space for me. As you can see, I started too hot. We'll start talking about the effort now. That was like 600 watts the first couple minutes. That was super dumb. I don't know what I was doing. I was there, it's like most climbs, you want to be a steady effort. But it was early. I definitely hit the coffee pretty hard when I woke up. I didn't sleep a ton that night. The day before we did a shoot and I was out in the sun all day. I'm discombobulated with the time zone changes. I was a mess, and I was just like, I just got to get up this thing. I really didn't think it through. But what I'm doing here is, when you have hairpins, you lose speed in these turns, and this climb on Montvernier is one of the most hairpinny of hairpins kind of climbs, and you go into these turns and you basically have to brake. They're so tight. Like, even though you're going uphill, it's just a crazy tight turn. So my method with all this stuff is you stay seated on the straightaways, and then out of the turn you sprint. So you kind of stand up, you get your momentum back, you get your speed back, and you get a little muscle change, and then you get back in your rhythm. So that was sort of how I would do races. I remember the San Dimas stage race time trial that I won a couple times. That was sort of method there. It's the only time I would stand up is outside of a hairpin, when that little half second that you coast, that you let off the pedal to get around a bend or something. You compensate by standing up there, and it also relieves the pressure, whatever. But I paced it too hard the first third, I would say here, and here's sort of where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try and chill out a little bit, because I'm not that far up yet. This climb is amazing. So the people I'm up against, this is the 2015 Tour stage, I forget, 16 or 18, something like that, late. Very late. So it was one that, and it wasn't like a mountaintop finish. I think the finish wasn't far from there, but they weren't racing here. Exactly. So they were catching the breakaway. I watched the YouTube of it in the episode for this, but sort of I did that for recon. As you can see, they guardrails. Sometimes there's a guardrail, and sometimes there's not a guardrail. So I'm glad I had the whole road. They closed the whole road for this, other than to pedestrians and other cyclists. They did close the road for this shoot. So I I don't know if anyone else has ever gone for a Strava on a closed road outside of a bike race, but that was pretty awesome. As you can see, I stood up again out of that. but the view here, the lack of guardrails really just lets you enjoy the view more, assuming you're not falling off of it. Straight ahead, see that cave? There's a waterfall up on the right, and there's a rope bridge that you can walk across. But like it's not a bridge. It's just one rope on the bottom that you put your feet on, and one rope that you sort of grab onto 3 feet higher. It's the scariest thing I've ever seen. And there are people who there's people who just do alp hikes all summer, and they were up there, and we're just watching, biting our fingernails as they traverse that little rope swing. So now we're getting to the top. I'm still hanging on to the power. I'm in retrospect, I'm proud of myself here. But I knew, so I come into it hot. I got some time on the previous leader, so that was Robert Hesink had the KOM before I did. Let me check his time here. He had it at 10:30 from the Tour de France, and then behind him were a bunch of other guys from the Tour de France. So I think I put time on at the bottom and then kind of just sort of held it. But I knew that the laces are the steep part. So what we're on here is this like set of a million switchbacks over and over that just lay on this mountain. And then at the very end, it kind of where it straightens out, it kind of flattens. Like it's not flat, but it's not as steep. So I sort of knew to pace it. You always want to pace it where you go hardest on the steepest part. That's always my method. Where the flat bit, like if you blow up on something steep, you lose a lot of time. If you blow up on a flat part, you can kind of still hang on to some speed. So that was sort of my policy here. And I knew if I could get to the end of the laces ahead of the pack, I'd be able to hold it. This rock wall here was just amazing. Look how high I am already. It's crazy. We climb fast on these bicycles, and as you get higher, the Alps they're far more Alpy. That's my favorite word. That Alp is Alping, so you can make a verb out of it, or you can make an adjective. It's Alpy. But look how Alpy that Alp is. That thing is Alping hard. But here we are. See, now I'm blowing up. Now the power is down, but I'm almost through this mess. There's a couple more to go. Up at the top, there's a church. You can see there's always a church at the top of these things. That's how Europe rolls. Yeah. So in the video here, I was racing a Land Rover down this, and it was funny because I'm going through the turns way faster than he is, but on the flat parts, like he's going up and I'm going down, he's hitting 70 on the flat parts, and I can't go that fast. And I can't slow down that fast, so like I'm sprinting in the flat parts, maybe hitting 40 or 50, and then I gotta slam my brakes into the turn. It was a cool idea they had. I had no idea, car versus. It seemed a little. It's definitely a silly idea. That's what we do is silly. So now I'm passing the church, and that's sort of the end of the laces. And up here, God, I know this climb so well because the whole thing is like I just did a million takes on this, and we just shot it from a bunch of angles. Their video came out really well too. If you want to watch the Land Rover feature, watch mine first, and then watch theirs. Here's a little bridge, and now it opens up. Up here here's where they blocked the road at the top, and this poor person has no idea what I'm doing, and that's completely fair. No one should know what I'm doing. This crazy, just beautiful field at the top, and then there's a village coming up that we had an outrageous dinner. I'll point out the restaurant. Did you want to hear about the effort? I'm sorry. There's only so much I could talk about. It's uphill, but so now, yeah, it's still 9% up here. It's just not as switchbacky, but I'm hauling. But so here I sort of knew I was ahead of the KOM pace, and I just had to keep it going through this little village. And now I'm starting to pay attention too because the road's no longer closed. So the Strava was like closed road at the bottom, and then like the last maybe mile here, not completely closed. But look at this old village. This village is villaging hard. It's very villagey. Up here here it comes. On the left, there's a restaurant that like the Motor Trend guys found just like they were just driving here shooting B-roll or something. That's that B-roll word, and they found this guy who. He's like, oh, come back. I have a restaurant here. We'll open for you guys tonight. Very, very. I don't want to be a jerk, but very un-French. The French people, they have their rules and they don't bend them for Americans, and I understand that. But this guy was super cool, and he opened his restaurant. There's like 20 of us, and it was pretty amazing. So that's the end. That would be the end of the segment, and here's where I look down at my thing, and I'm like, wait, is it the end? And I was like, well, it's going to have to be the end because it was the end, but my thing didn't, I wasn't sure anymore. And there's the top. Anyway, that restaurant. So it's this French dude, and he, obviously the food was great. We had a truffle omelet, and he found the truffles himself somewhere, and the wine came from his thing, and the cheese, and that hurt. And this is me in pain. So that's it. That's it from this guy. And yeah, well, until the next video, I'll go train so I can continue to do this to myself. All right, and watch the episode.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien